Part 76. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 751. Golden Crow is another name for the sun. In mythology, there is a black three-legged crow in the center of the red Sunday. The black crow squats in the center of the red sun and is surrounded by golden red light, so it is called Golden Crow. Moreover, he is also Dijun's son. From this point of view, Xiao Hei's identity is not simple. The man looked at Xiao Hei with fear in his eyes. Before, Xiao Hei gave me the impression that he was just an ordinary crow that had become a spirit. Now, the reason why he has changed like this is probably because of the sun and moon pearl. Boss. Leave that female ghost to me, and you can deal with the other one. I asked with some suspicion, can you really do that? Xiao Hei imitated others and pretended to pat his chest. Don't worry, boss. That guy is a piece of cake for me. If it were before, I would never agree with Xiao Hei's actions. Although we usually don't deal with each other, after getting along for such a long time, I have long regarded him as my friend, or a little follower. Okay. Then let's do it. As soon as I finished speaking, I summoned the secret of heaven and disappeared in an instant. When the man saw this, he shouted at the ghost baby, "Stop this crow. I'll deal with Lu Su." Xiao Hei laughed and said, "I want to stop you, Mr. Bird. You are not qualified yet." The red flames around it burned crazily, flying in the air like a huge fireball. To exaggerate, it looked like the sun in the dark night. The ghost baby stood in front of the man, and just when he was about to attack Xiao Hei, I appeared beside him. 8 heavenly secrets surrounded him. I took out the evil suppressing seal from my pocket and said coldly, "The grudge between you and me should be settled." I threw the evil suppressing seal into the air, squeezed it with both hands, and countless golden inscriptions flew out from the bottom of the seal, tightly binding the ghost baby. The ghost baby is bound by me, and the man can only face Xiao Hei. Xiao Hei flapped his wings and rushed towards the man. The resentful ice ghost stood in front of the man, but before Xiao Hei could get close, the ice on his body was melted by the fire on Xiao Hei's body. No wonder Xiao Hei is so sure that he can deal with men. It turns out that the flames on his body have a restraining effect on him. But what surprised me was that this little black flame was even more powerful than the karma fire. The fire of karma is ultimately the fire of hell, belonging to yin, while the yang of the golden crow is the fire with the strongest yang energy in the world. Seeing that Xiao Hei has such methods, I no longer care about him, but deal with the ghost baby wholeheartedly. The ghost baby looked at me with a ferocious face, and the malice in his eyes almost swallowed me up. "Lu Su, you are just an ant. The kind of ant that can be stepped on to death. You still want to kill me today? Stop dreaming." The ghost baby roared at me. Ants. I used to be an ant, and I could only watch my family leave. But things are different now. I feel like I have the power to change the status quo and protect the people I want to protect. So, I must kill the ghost baby as soon as possible. Then rushed to hang past to find Su Tianxian. I'm really worried about her. I waved my hand casually, and 8 heavenly secrets neatly surrounded Guiying. The ghost baby's face became more and more ferocious, and the yin qi on his body surged sharply. Seeing that the evil suppressing seal was about to be broken, I quickly speeded up the movements of my hands. Obscure incantations appeared on the 8 heavenly secrets, and in a few breaths, I completed the drawing of the thunder talisman. I held the 9 layers of thunder dew in my hand and muttered something in my mouth. Following my movements, the 8 thunder talismans burst out with dazzling light. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 752. I raised my heartsword and drew the thunder with my hand. I looked at the ghost baby and said word by word, "Your birth has sacrificed the lives of too many innocent people. Today I will do justice for heaven and use the thunder to bring sunshine in this world. You destroy it. Yin Yang Ghost Town is the place where ghost babies are born. And he was born without hundreds of children dying because of him. Even after the death of these children, their souls are imprisoned and transmit nutrients to the ghost babies day and night. At that time, although I was angry, I suffered from lack of strength and could not completely kill the ghost baby. Although I don't know if I can completely kill the ghost babies with my current strength, I will definitely use all my strength to avenge those dead children. The sky was covered with dark clouds, and there were bursts of thunder. Thunder and lightning were rolling in the clouds, with a vague tendency to fall. The 8 thunder-drawing talismans also played their role at this moment, attracting more powerful thunder. The 9-level thunder art has the effect of attracting people, but the prerequisite is that the 9-level thunder art must be superimposed to the 5th level. The thunder-inducing talisman can completely increase the effectiveness of sky thunder. If the ghost baby is hit by this thunder, it will either die or be disabled. While I was drawing the thunder, the ghost baby had already broken free from the evil suppressing seal. He let out an angry roar and rushed towards me with a ferocious face. I didn't hesitate at all, and struck down the sword fiercely in my hand. Boom! The thunder and lightning shredded the boundless darkness, like a huge crack in the sky being struck by lightning. A thunder dragon roared, and the surrounding flowers and trees trembled slightly with the powerful thunder. The thunder dragon swallowed up the ghost baby, and my eyes were filled with white. The powerful thunder forced me to retreat continuously. When the white light dissipated, a burning smell filled the air. I looked at the place where the ghost baby was before, and saw a big hole struck by thunder, and even the land became extremely charred. The ghost baby stood there quietly, covered in charred black. In addition, there were wisps of white smoke coming out of his body. I held the heart sword in my hand and looked at the ghost baby warily. It was obvious that this thunder strike was not able to knock it out of its wits. At this moment, Go Ying's closed eyes suddenly opened, and he opened his bloody mouth and bit me. I stretched out my left hand, and the pure lotus mark on my palm felt slightly hot, and a white halo separated me from the ghost baby. Lusu! I'll kill you. I must kill you. If you hadn't ruined my rebirth plan. How could I have been used by that insidious villain Zhao Mian? I can't grow in virtue. The ghost baby hissed at me. His strength has not yet reached the Ghost King. It can only be said that he is only one step away from the Ghost King. I still remember the shock the ghost baby gave me when I first saw him. Even Su Tianxian couldn't do anything to him when he ordered hundreds of ghosts. Logically speaking, a ghost with such talent cannot stand still and should have become the king of ghosts long ago. Thinking about it, it was because of Zhao Mian. Even though the ghost baby tried his best, he couldn't break through the protection given to me by the pure lotus seal. My expression condensed, and I said coldly to the ghost baby, "Your existence is a mistake, go to hell." As soon as the words fell, the ghost baby's body began to collapse from its footsteps, turning into a lot of white lotus and disappearing into the air. I'm not willing to give in. I'm not willing to give in. If that villain Zhao Mian hadn't absorbed my yin qi, how could I have been defeated by a young boy like you? I'm not willing to give in. The ghost baby's voice gradually became distant and finally disappeared from my ears. At the same time, a figure fell straight towards me. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbo. Chapter 753. I ducked sideways, and then I saw clearly that the person who fell was actually that man. I took a breath of cold air. Is this little black guy so tough? The man was defeated in just a few minutes. Xiao He flew towards me, and the light on his body dimmed a lot. It fell on my shoulder and said weakly, "I'm useless, and I'll leave the rest to you." I nodded and looked at the man. Just as he was about to ask, he saw a shadow rushing towards the man. It's the ice-hating ghost. At this moment, the ice on her body has melted, revealing her original appearance. The appearance of the resentful ice ghost is not stunning, but it is very attractive. He has an oval face, pink and phoenix eyes, and a cherry-like mouth, but there is no trace of blood. She was like an angry lioness, protecting the man tightly under her body. I looked at one person and one ghost and said, "Why do you Taoists come here?" The man looked at me with complicated eyes and said nothing. My face turned cold. I pointed my sword at the man and said, "I'm asking you why your Taoist sect came here." The man let out a long sigh, his face showing the relief and loneliness of a dying man. "I won't tell you, just kill me. It is not a coincidence that people from the Taoist sect appear here, it is inevitable. You can die and be reincarnated in the underworld, but if she dies, her soul will be gone. You have to think clearly." The man's face froze, and then he said to me in a trembling voice, "Please, let her go, she is innocent." Although I don't know what the relationship is between the man in front of me and this resentful ice ghost. But from the way the man looked at the resentful ice ghost at the beginning, I could tell that the man and the ghost were in love with each other. Because the eyes are the windows to the soul and they cannot lie. Innocent? I don't think so. She killed countless people under your control. You told me that she was innocent. Do you think I would believe it? The man struggled to stand up, knelt in front of me, lowered his head, and said in a lonely voice, "She and I were childhood sweethearts. She lost her father and mother when she was young and was sold to a human trafficker. It took me 10 years to find her. She has suffered enough during these 10 years." Xiao He couldn't help but said, "The relationship between you two is really bloody. Not like me. One day at a time." I glared at Xiao He fiercely and told him not to talk nonsense. The man continued, "I promised that I would definitely give her happiness. I don't care about her past, nor do I care about her dirty body, I only care about her pure soul." The man's voice was low and slightly choked. But she thought she was not worthy of me and left me again. I searched for her like crazy. After 3 years of searching, all I found was her body. At this point, the man clenched his fists. She was abused and tortured to death by a group of scum. The moment I saw her body, I felt that my whole world was dark. I wanted to die with her, but at this time, I met an old man. The man is only 2 or 3 years older than me. I probably know who the old man he was talking about is. When you were at your most desperate, you met the Taoist leader. He told you that there was a way to keep your dead girlfriend by your side, right? The man nodded. The leader gave Xiaoao a second life. However, Xiaoao lost consciousness and became a ghost without conscious thoughts. Even so, I am satisfied. In order to repay the leader, I have done everything I can. It's totally unconscionable. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbao. Chapter 754. The man lowered his eyes, and I could not clearly see the expression in his eyes, but I could infer his regret and suffering at the moment through his trembling shoulders. He looked up suddenly, his eyes filled with tears and sadness. "Let her go and I can tell you what you want to know." I looked at Xiaoao, the resentful ice ghost, and said, "The mistake you committed requires death to make up for it, but I am not the one who did it. As long as you tell me the purpose of your coming here, I can let you go. I have no right or any reason to wipe out a person's life. If a man behaves evilly in front of me, I will definitely take his life. But he didn't. I don't believe in the reincarnation of cause and effect, but I believe in the change of good and evil in people's hearts. In this world, there is no absolute black and white, nor absolute good and evil. What I think is black and what I think is evil may be white or good in the eyes of others." The man looked at me and said, "There are many masters from our Taoist sect who have come here, but I don't know what they are here for." I only know that they want to cooperate with someone, and that person should be the one you just mentioned. Zhao Mian. And what? I asked quickly. Not only Zhao Mian, but as far as I know the Tianfu city god is also involved. I nodded. Now I roughly guessed their purpose. That is the fighting spirit in Hang Pass. Zhang Yuchain said that he would overthrow the entire underworld and rebuild it. Although his men have military power, they are insignificant compared to the entire underworld. Therefore, he did not hesitate to join forces with the Zhaomian daemon to conquer the fighting spirits in Hang Pass. Since you told me what happened, I will reincarnate your girlfriend. I glanced at Xiaoyao, who was protecting the man, and said, I have a way to restore her consciousness. Do you want to say a final farewell to her? After hearing this, the man shook his head slightly, his words full of loneliness. No, if it weren't for my selfish desires, she might have been reincarnated long ago. If she regained consciousness, she would definitely be cruel to me. I shook my head and denied, you are wrong. When you were in danger just now, she ran over to protect you as soon as possible. Even if she loses consciousness, she will follow her instinctive reaction to protect you. From this point of view, she won't blame you. The man was silent and thought for a long time. He struggled to stand up, came to me, bowed deeply to me, and said, No, now is not the time to meet her. Tell her for me that I am dead, but I still love her. No matter in the past or now, if we are destined, we will definitely meet in the future. By then, I just hope that her life will be less miserable. I stared blankly at the look in the man's eyes. The look in his eyes clearly showed the death struggle of a dying man. He had something to do, and after finishing it, he would choose death. I asked, what are you going to do? The man smiled brightly at me and said, in order to repay your kindness and make up for the mistakes I have made, I am going to do something, and this thing will definitely help you. Without waiting for me to ask any more questions, the man turned around and disappeared into the darkness. Xiaoyao, the resentful ice ghost, wanted to catch up out of instinct, but was enveloped in white light with the pure lotus mark. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 755. Pure lotus can purify all evil things in the world, and can naturally awaken Xiaoyao's consciousness. The white light became more and more dazzling. Xiaoyao was bathed in the white light, and the numbness in her eyes slowly disappeared, replaced by pure agility. Xiaoyao looked around in confusion, and finally fixed her sight on me and asked, where did he go? I asked with some surprise, do you know about his existence? Xiaoyao lowered her eyes, nodded, and replied, although I am unconscious, I know that he has always been by my side. I nodded and said, he is dead, and he asked me to tell you that he still loves her. No matter in the past or now, if you are destined to meet her in the next life, you will definitely meet her. When Xiaoyao heard this, she was stunned on the spot. Tears filled her eyes. She sobbed silently. After a while, she choked and said, no. It's impossible. He can't leave me. Are you lying to me? Xiaoyao looked at the pear blossoms and the rain, feeling a little unbearable in her heart. She wanted to tell Xiaoyao the truth, but she felt like she agreed to the man, so she endured it. He is indeed dead. When Xiaoyao heard my words, the hope in her eyes completely disappeared, and she broke down and cried loudly. Xiaohe and I quietly watched Xiaoyao vent her emotions. After a while, Xiaoyao's mood gradually stabilized, and she looked at me with a look of prayer on her face. Please, let me follow you. I don't want to be reincarnated, because I don't want to forget him. Reincarnation means a new beginning. On the bank of Wangchuan River, a bowl of menpo soup wiped out all the memories of the past. I said to Xiaoyao, he hopes you can be reincarnated. Xiaoyao stood up and said firmly to me, maybe he is really dead, but I believe his soul is still lingering in the world. I want to see him, even just once. If he has really been reincarnated, I want to go and see where he exists. Xiaoao couldn't stop her tears from flowing down as she spoke. Because then I will feel that he is close to me. Xiao He whispered to me on the side, "Boss, otherwise you just agree. If she enters the underworld with obsession, I'm afraid she won't be reincarnated." What Xiao He said was not unreasonable. After thinking for a moment, I said, "Okay, I promise you, you can stay away from me. When your obsession dissipates, I will reincarnate you." Xiaoao wiped away the tears on her face, bowed deeply to me, and said, "Thank you." I nodded and took out the soul locking tower. "Come in." Xiaoao nodded and turned into a wisp of white smoke and entered the soul locking tower. I put away the soul locking tower and went down the mountain with Xiao He. Xiao He suddenly asked, "Boss, what exactly is love?" "What is love?" "I have met two other people's love. The first one is from Sun Wenqing and Xioxin. The second part is that the man is he Xiaoao. Whether it is Sun Wenqing or a man, their love is selfless and selfish at the same time. But it is undeniable that this love is wholly in each other's hearts. I don't know. Just because you've seen other people's love doesn't mean you understand love yourself." Xiao He nodded, and then asked, "Then, boss, do you have someone you like?" You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 756. The person I like. The figure of Su Tianqian appeared in my mind unconsciously. This was the first time I seriously thought about my feelings towards Su Tianqian. What feelings do I have for her? Family? Friend? Or is it the existence of mutual dependence? One thing cannot be denied, she helped me get through the darkest moments of my life. I can't see my own heart clearly yet. Because of who we are. If one day I know my own heart, I will choose to express it without hesitation. Seeing that I didn't answer, Xiao He let out a long sigh and said, "Actually, Sister Fengluan is quite good. She likes you very much." "She likes you very much." I was stunned for a moment and asked with some confusion, "What are you talking about?" Xiao He looked at me and replied very seriously, "Do you look at me like I'm talking nonsense? I once asked her how she could stay with someone as stinky as you. Sister Fengluan told me that you are very good and you are her favorite person. She is willing to sacrifice everything for you, including her life." I looked at Xiao He blankly. I recalled the encounter with Miao Fengluan. She is a girl from the Luohua cave, beautiful, kind, innocent and lovely, especially those eyes that are like stars. But who could have imagined that she would have such a miserable life? You are really nosy. Xiao He chuckled and said, "Anyway, I think Sister Fengluan is quite good. She is gentle, kind, and beautiful." I rolled my eyes, not wanting to continue the conversation on this issue. I estimated the time and found that more than 10 minutes had passed since I left the funeral procession. I think the funeral procession has already left. I asked Xiao He to fly into the air to check the location of the funeral procession. Xiao He took orders and flew into the night sky, and I stepped up my steps to catch up. After a while, Xiao He came back, landed on my shoulder and said to me, "They have reached the pass." I nodded and quickened my pace towards the pass. There were 3 hang passes in history. Qin Hang Pass, Han Hang Pass, and Wei Hang Pass. These 3 checkpoints are distributed throughout Hang Pass. This time we have to pass through Qingguan Pass and enter Hang Pass. At Hang Pass in Qin, King Huai of Chu collaborated with the 6 kingdoms to attack Qin. Qin relied on the natural dangers of Hang, causing the armies of the 6 kingdoms to lay millions of corpses and bleed in the ores. In addition to eating, there have been countless battles that took place in Hang Pass for 5,000 years, and the number of dead soldiers is also immeasurable. If I can subdue these fighting spirits, it will be a big deal for me. I quickened my pace and soon caught up with the funeral procession. Mr. Joe breathed a long sigh of relief when he saw me coming back. "Is the matter settled?" I nodded and said, "We have to be careful, because more than one of us came to Hang Pass." Mr. Joe looked slightly startled, then nodded and replied, "You can rest assured, as long as Judge Zhong Kui comes again, no evil spirit will dare to come near." What Mr. Joe said is not unreasonable. As long as we have not reached the place where the golden body is buried, Zhong Kui will not leave. If he doesn't leave, at least we will be safe. I asked, "Where are we going?" Mr. Joe replied, "Look at the purple tower." Zanza Tower is said to be the place where Yin 11, the commander of Hang Pass, climbed high to look into the distance and observe the celestial phenomena. The idiom purple air comes from the east, originated from this, but this building was destroyed by the war in the war-torn era. Mr. Joe's expression became a little serious, and he said, "We will pass through several extremely dangerous places later. You must pay attention and try to protect the funeral procession from intrusion." Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanba. Chapter 757. Which places? Mr. Joe replied, "Hang Ancient Road, Jiming Terrace, Yin 11's former residence ruins and Hang Steel Forest. These places are all extremely famous places in Hang Pass. The Hang Ancient Road is simply a quiet path in the valley. Ancient books say that the Hang Pass Road crosses Guancheng to the west. The carriages do not separate the tracks and the horses do not bridle together. Cock Crowing Terrace is where the idiom cock crowing, dog robber comes from. King Chuang Lizikan led his men and horses out of Shaanxi and headed east to Hang Pass. It was getting dark, and the men and horses were exhausted, so he ordered his men to set up camp and stay. At that time, Lizikan's army was pursued by troops, so the military advisor asked Lizikan why he was setting off. Lizikan replied, "The rooster crowed, broke camp and set off." The military advisor knew that this was not a place to camp, so he found a rooster, carried it to the mound, and imitated the rooster's crow under his breath. The rooster on the top of the mound crowed, and under the mound, all the people in the surrounding villages the roosters crowed. Lizikan thought that the time had come, so he led his army and set off. Naturally, the pursuers behind him were in vain. The Jiming Terrace is just a small mound, nothing special about it. The site of Yin 11's former residence is Yin 11's residence in the spring and autumn period. It is said that he once asked me to stay here for half a year. During the Tang dynasty, there were rumors that a spiritual talisman dropped from heaven to Yingxi's former residence in Hang. Xianzong immediately sent people to dig for it, and indeed the spiritual talisman was found. Xianzong believed that this was Laozi's gift to him, so he changed the rain name to Tianbao. As for Hang Steel Forest, it is a cemetery. Mr. Joe thought for a while and said, "Your master asked me to ask you to pick up something when I pass by Yin 11's former residence." I asked, "Isn't it the magic talisman?" Mr. Joe nodded and replied, "It should be, but I have looked for it before, but found nothing." I had some doubts in my heart and continued to ask, "Didn't that spiritual talisman be taken away by Emperor Xianzong of the Tang dynasty?" Mr. Joe looked at me deeply and replied, "That's a lie. The real talisman is still in Yin 11's former residence, but no one has found it for thousands of years. I guess your master also wants you to try your luck." Since my master told me, I must go. The funeral procession soon arrived at the Hang Ancient Road. A quiet path came into view. A stone tablet stood next to the ancient road, with the 4 characters Hang Ancient Road engraved on it. The funeral procession slowly entered it. On both sides of the pass, there were steep cliffs, numerous peaks and rocks, the terrain was dangerous, and the landscape was forbidding. I didn't understand why Hang Pass was a battleground for military strategists before, but today I saw that the terrain is really steep. The night was as dark as ink, and only the pale moonlight could bring some light. I can only hear the footsteps of Mr. Joe and me in my ears. As we walked, the atmosphere around us became a little depressing. I frowned, vaguely thinking that something bad had happened. At this moment, Xiang Yi, who was leading the way in front of the funeral procession, arrived in front of him. "Lu Su, we are in trouble." My heart tightened and I asked, "What's the trouble?" "Just come with me." I quickly followed Xiang Yi to the front of the team. Xiang Yi pointed straight ahead and said, "See for yourself." I looked in the direction he pointed. It didn't matter. I was shocked. I saw countless figures appearing directly in front of us. Through the moonlight, I could clearly see the appearance of those figures. It was an eerie human skeleton. After a rough calculation, there should be more than 30. These human bones stood in place in an extremely weird posture, with arrows stuck in their bodies. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 758. Xiang Yi said, "Find a way to get them away. The funeral procession cannot be disturbed and cannot stop any longer." I nodded and walked towards the group of human bones in front of me. There was news before that a farmer unearthed an ancient human skeleton while working in the farmland next to the Hang Ancient Road, and found that there were more than 10 arrows in the body. In other words, there are corpses of ancient warriors everywhere in Hang Pass, but they can't be found. I came to those human bones and corpses and looked carefully. I found that these guys were not exposed with bones. They were still wearing armor. It's just that the armor was corroded by the sun and the moon and became dilapidated. My appearance made them take a cautious step back. It's obvious that they are intelligent. I don't want to embarrass you, so it's best to retreat quickly. The human bones and corpses looked at each other. They had no eyes, and this action seemed a bit strange. At this moment, a skeleton suddenly stepped forward and fell to his knees with a plop. Immediately afterwards, the human bones and corpses behind him all knelt down. This sudden move surprised me. If they can speak, I must ask clearly. "Get up and leave quickly." The human skeleton stood up and quickly dispersed. There are countless fighting spirits in Hang Pass, and the age of these fighting spirits cannot be verified. War broke out again in the Qin dynasty, the Three Kingdoms, the Han dynasty, and other dynasties. The funeral procession moved forward slowly, and the human bones and corpses stood quietly on both sides of the ancient road. It felt like they were respectfully watching us leave. But the funeral procession hadn't gone very far when a melodious horn sound slowly sounded all around. The sound of the horn is melodious and long-lasting, like crying, which makes people's hair stand on end. I saw the human bones and corpses standing on both sides of the ancient road, suddenly straightened up. The next moment, countless wisps of scarlet mist spread out from their bodies. The flowers, plants, and trees along the ancient road withered instantly when the red evil spirit hit them. I looked shocked when I saw this scene. In just a few breaths, these human bones and corpses have turned into evil spirits. All this must be related to the bugle sound just now. Human bones and corpses rushed towards us like a river bursting its banks. I quickly unfolded the Nine Eyes heavenly domain to isolate these corpses from the outside world. I can't let them interfere with the funeral procession. Although, 3 ghosts and 1 judge, this kind of lineup is very luxurious. But with me here, they won't take action easily. They will help me only if I am in trouble. To put it simply, they only serve as a deterrent. They will not take action unless there is absolute danger. After these human bones and corpses turned into demons, they moved a little faster. In the blink of an eye, I was surrounded. Then he bared his teeth and claws and attacked me. The strong evil spirit also surrounded me. I quickly raised my left hand and activated the pure lotus seal to isolate the evil spirit. These evil spirits must not be touched. Once touched, they will definitely corrode me in an instant. My face hardened, and I waved my left hand violently, and the rich blood-red evil energy turned into white lotuses and floated into the air. I opened the palm of my left hand, and with a thought, a white lotus flower appeared in my palm. The lotus flower was crystal clear and its petals were as dazzling as crystal, but it did not bloom. I threw the pure lotus towards the human bones and corpses that had turned into evil spirits. The pure lotus hovered in the air, then slowly bloomed, and then a beam of holy light burst out from the lotus. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanba. Chapter 759. Wherever the white light shrouds, the evil spirit dissipates. The human bones and corpses also lost their ferocious and violent state and became quiet. Yin energy surrounded them, and finally they transformed into bodies and regained their consciousness. Judging from the way these Yin soldiers are dressed, they should be soldiers from the Han dynasty. Their knees bent, they fell to the ground with a plop, and respectfully shouted at me, "Please punish me, Your Majesty." I know they apologized because they just wanted to attack me. I waved my hand and said, "Get up, it's not your fault." The Yin soldiers of the Han dynasty stood up. I looked at them and asked, "Why are you lingering here and unwilling to reincarnate and leave? This is something I'm more concerned about." They clearly had the right to choose to leave, but they didn't. Could it be that they had some unfulfilled obsessions in their hearts? One of the Yin soldiers of the Han dynasty took a step forward and said, "Your Majesty, we are waiting for General Huo and you." "General Huo? What are we waiting for?" A look of determination appeared on the soldier's face. "We are born as Han people. We die as Han people's ghosts. I have been waiting for 1,000 years just to serve His Majesty again." I stared blankly at these Han dynasty soldiers. I never thought that there would be such a group of people waiting for me for 1,000 years, even though I have lost the memory of my previous life. But I cannot deny their determination and belief. I thought for a moment and asked, "Is the general you are talking about Huo Qubing?" In fact, in my mind, I have always had some guesses about General Huo's true identity. He and Huaxiu were both from the Han dynasty. Throughout the entire Han dynasty, only Huo Qubing could fit the identity of General Huo. The soldier nodded and replied, "Your Majesty, yes." I took a breath, and I didn't expect that my guess turned out to be true. General Huo's true identity is the fierce young man who stepped on the Huns on horseback and the god of war who ran thousands of miles across Juyin. I took a deep breath, calmed down my excitement, and asked, "Let me ask you, what is the situation at Hang Pass now?" "The 1,000-year peace of Hang Pass is about to be broken." The sound of the bugle just now was a precursor. The Yin soldier thought for a moment and replied, "There are countless fighting spirits like us in Hang Pass, but we have been sleeping all this time, but just a few days ago, we were awakened and our sanity was also slightly affected." Influence. After listening, I nodded. It seemed that Zhao Mian had already taken action. The Yin soldiers continued, "Now the Yin soldiers in the entire Hang Pass are approaching in the direction of Zanzi Tower. This is not their original intention, but there is an invisible force driving us." "Okay, I get it." I looked at these Yin soldiers and said, "You leave for now, but we will meet again. When we meet again, I will still be your king." The Yin soldier raised his hands to me and said, "Yes, Your Majesty." The Yin soldiers retreated. The situation at Hang Pass is now clear. Zhao Mian has successfully used means to influence the fighting spirit of Hang Pass. There are fighting spirits in Hang Pass from every dynasty. The tiger talisman in my hand can only command the dark soldiers of the Qin dynasty. Even if these shady soldiers of the Han dynasty recognize my identity and still treat me as king, they may still be confused by Zhao Mian's methods. It seems that these fighting spirits can only be made to surrender with absolute strength. Thinking of this, I turned around and chased the funeral procession. Now I have been able to determine one of my reincarnations, that is Emperor Wu of the Han Dynasty, Lu Che. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 760. My life experience is too complicated. But I can find some clues in Yunziazi's words. Yunziazi said, he and I are not related in the past life. Rather, I created them in reincarnation after reincarnation. I contacted the relationship between Tais Hanglejun and Laozi. I am the incarnation of Tais Hanglejun, and there is more than one incarnation of Tais Hanglejun. That means that both Yunziazi and Hanwu Emperor Lu Che are my incarnations. And who am I? I don't know this, and only through constant exploration can I find my true identity. Soon, I caught up with the funeral procession. The funeral procession moved forward slowly, but I found that there seemed to be countless pairs of eyes staring at me in the darkness. This feeling of thorns on my back makes me very uncomfortable. However, it seems that those guys hiding in the darkness have no intention of attacking us. With this feeling of being watched, we left the Hang Ancient Trail. The funeral procession marched on a mountain path, with dense bushes on both sides of the road. The wind rustled and kept beating on my tense nerves. Since entering Hang Pass, my spirit has not been relaxed for a moment. Because I was afraid something would jump out of the darkness and disturb the funeral procession. As I walked, the surrounding scenery changed slightly. The dense shrubs around me gradually became sparse, and the mounds and rocks came into view. Mr. Joe's voice rang in my ears. We will pass by the rooster platform later. We have to be careful and hope we don't encounter the golden rooster crowing. I nodded and my expression became a little serious. The golden rooster is a legendary divine chicken, which is recorded in the Classic of Mountains and Seas. According to legend, the crow of the golden rooster can drive away all evil spirits, including ghost soldiers. Because when the rooster sings and the world is white and the golden rooster opens its mouth, it means that dawn is coming, and this is also a notice for the ghost servants to get off work. Although it is still a long time before dawn. But Baobuki Xiangyi and Black and White Vuchain will be affected. As I was thinking this, Xiangyi came to my side. He said to me, Lu Su, when you pass by the rooster platform later, if you encounter that golden rooster, you must shut it up. If it screams out, the hundreds of ghosts following it will be scared away, and Black and White Vuchain and I will also be affected. I nodded and asked, why are you so afraid of this golden rooster? This is what I don't understand the most. Xiangyi is a ghost after all. How could he be so afraid of this rooster? Xiangyi shook his head and said to me, we are not afraid, but an instinctive reaction. The rooster's crowing means dawn, and the golden rooster that croaks every day itself has the aura of invigorating the sun. And this breath is the closest to sunlight. Since ancient times, when we hear the rooster crow, we will return to the underworld. Can you understand? I nodded and said, it's just muscle memory, and you talk so loftily. I seriously doubt that you will get off work if you really hear the rooster crow later. Xiangyi heard my teasing, stretched out his hand and slapped me hard on the shoulder. You brat, I am always on time when I go to and from get off work every day. I chuckled. At this time, Zhong Kui, who had been silent all this time, spoke. Lu Su, if you encounter that golden rooster, you'd better be careful. Ordinary ghosts will be frightened when they hear the golden rooster crow.